So we are looking at JavaFX. We said it's a new framework that is used for developing Java GUI programs, also known as the it's also known as the rich internet applications. So the JavaFX API is excellent, or it's an excellent example of high object-oriented principles are applied. And then the applications built in JavaFX can run on platforms like the websites, can run on mobile phones, and can run on desktops as well. Okay, so that's how rich this particular framework is. Okay? So unlike the Swing component, what we talked about last week, okay, we also know from Java 2, the JavaFX framework, okay, is more rich in content and also provides more functionalities. Now, the JavaFX also provides its own components, but does not depend on the operating system, just like the Swing component. Okay, so it's lightweight, it's graphic, accelerated, it supports various operating systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, okay, and also contains a rich set of APIs that are more than enough to develop applications, which run consistently across many platforms. Now, what's the main difference between JavaFX and then the Swing and AWT component? So like I mentioned earlier, okay, JavaFX has more rich frameworks, okay, than the Swing component. It has more functionalities than the Swing component, okay, but the similarities here is that they all are can be used on platforms like Windows, Linux, and then the Mac OS. Now, AWT components are replaced by JavaFX platform for developing rich internet applications. Now, when Java was introduced, the GUI classes were bundled, or the B classes were bundled in a library known as the Abstract Windows Toolkit, like we mentioned last week. So we had all those components, okay, in that library, all those functions in that particular library or package. Now, the AWT is for developing simple graphical user interface, but not for developing comprehensive GUI projects. Okay, so simple projects, and so on. It's easy to directly use them on develop them in using the Swing component. Okay. Then also, please, can you all hear me well? Because according to the comments, it seems.
Yes, please, we can hear you.
It's better than the first thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's breaking, but it's better than the first one.
Okay. All right, so let's go on. So we are saying that in addition to that, the AWT is prone to bugs. Okay, prone to some bugs. So those are some of the reasons why JavaFX is more preferred, okay, at this point. Now, we say JavaFX is rich, uses or it's made up of rich internet application, because the rich internet application is actually a web application designed to deliver some features and functions normally associated with desktop applications. Okay, so they usually split the processing across internet, okay, or network by locating a graphical or a user interface and other related activities and capabilities on the client side when it comes to data manipulation, and then operation on the server side of the application. The AWT user interface components are replaced by robust and versatile and flexible library known as the Swing. Now, the Swing components were painted directly on canvases using the Java code. The Swing component, they depend less on the target platform, and then they use less of the native GUI resources. And they are also designed for desktop free GUI application. But they are all now being replaced by the JavaFX, okay, which is more and more robust, okay, and more flexible than the AWT and the Swing components. Now, JavaFX incorporates some modern technologies to enable you to develop the rich internet application. So like I said, the rich internet application is a web application designed to deliver some features and functions, okay, normally associated with the desktop application, and they run similarly on a desktop and from also a web browser. Okay, so it's not only running on desktops, okay, but you can also run them from the web browser. Now, JavaFX provides multi-touch support for touch-enabled devices, and then like tablets and smartphones. Okay, so you realize that the functionalities regarding JavaFX, okay, outweighs the Swing components, which are just related to desktop applications, standalone desktop applications. So with this one, we can see things like running from the web browser, running from desktop as well, and even smartphones and tablets. Now, another additional feature is that it has in its inbuilt 3D, 2D animation support, video and audio playback that run on standalone applications or from a browser. Okay, so these features are also available when it comes to designing 3D applications with your browser, with design 3D application using Java, JavaFX. So now let's look at some features. Okay, we take them one by one, and then we at them. Now, JavaFX has features like the Java library. Okay, so with the Java library, it's a library which consists of many classes and interfaces that were written in Java. Okay, so there's a package for JavaFX. So for instance, if you realize that when we were writing the program in class, there were packages from the swing package. So anytime you import those particular packages, you see the swing, or anytime you enter something, let's say a text field, and you need to import it, the swing component is there for you to select from. In the same way, JavaFX also has Java library for you to select from and also use in your codes. And it also has the XML. The XML. Now, the XML is an XML-based declarative markup language. And markup language which is used in JavaFX. Okay, so you need to load it by using the JavaFX XML loader. And then the coding is done in FXML to provide more advanced or an advanced GUI for the user. And it also has the scene builder. The scene builder read the FXML markup, which can be ported into an IDE. So like I said, there's a third-party application known as the scene builder, which you can add to your IntelliJ. Okay, add that plugin to the IntelliJ, and then that gives you an interface for you to actually add or drag and drop the various components or widgets that you need to use in designing your interface. Then there's also the web view. The web view shows web pages that can be embedded with the JavaFX application. The web view uses the WebKit HTML technology to embed web pages. Okay, so you can have web pages embedded in your application, and then also it's built in has a built-in UI controls. So these UI controls are basically the components that we all know of, okay, that we saw from the way we are designing a form. The components like the text field, the password field, and so on, which you can drag and drop. They are the GUI, or they are the UI controls when it comes to JavaFX. Now, so JavaFX contains built-in components which are not dependent on the operating system. The UI components are just enough to develop full-featured applications. Then there's the CSS-like styling. CSS-like styling also is available where you can write Java FX code using CSS. So it says JavaFX code can also be embedded with CSS to improve the style of the application. Okay, and we can enhance the view of our application with the simple knowledge of CSS. Okay, that's the cascading, styling, or style sheet. Okay. Now, the cascade style sheet is a design language. Okay, and then we add it to programs or we embed it into code to enhance the appearance of web pages, okay, without necessarily changing their functionalities. So that has to do with if you want to build an application which you need to design with your web browser, okay, then you need to embed the CSS-like styling into your JavaFX code. Okay. And there's the swing interoperability. Okay. Interoperability. Now, the JavaFX application can be embedded with swing components using the swing node class. Okay. Now, if we start talking about nodes, okay, then you should see that the swing component, okay, we'll see it very soon. It works more like we are dealing with tree. Okay. So we can update the existing swing application with a powerful feature of JavaFX. Now the Canvas, there's also the Canvas API, that's another feature. The Canvas API provides the method for drawing directly an area of the JavaFX. So the Canvas is just like when you're working in Microsoft Word and you want to insert some shapes, okay, you draw a canvas. So it's like a working area, okay, for drawing. A working area for drawing. So that API is also available. You can provide, introduce that into your JavaFX. Okay, if you need to draw or come up with some drawing directly on the shape on your application. And JavaFX provides a rich set of APIs to develop the GUI application. Develop GUI applications. And then there's the integrated graphics library. Okay. The integrated graphics library are integrated set of classes, okay, that provide or helps you to deal with 2D or 3D graphics in your application. Okay. Then the graphics pipeline are graphic-based rendering, which offers smooth graphics, which are hardware accelerated. Okay. So usually when it comes to this part of developing the application, if you have a device or a machine that has more of a dedicated graphic card, it's able to work smoothly. Then it also makes use of high performance media engine. So there's a media pipeline that supports playback of web multimedia on a low latency. It is based on the GStreamer multimedia framework. And then finally, we have the self-contained application deployment model, which have all of the application resources and private copies of Java and JavaFX runtime. Now, let's look at some of the applications within the JavaFX. Okay, so we'll be using some of them, some of these packages, some of the packages. Okay. So there's the JavaFX animation, which provides a set of classes that are responsible for transition. There's the application, JavaFX.application, which provides the application lifecycle methods. Okay, so this particular one, okay, is something that will work with a lot as a JavaFX application. It will be the base JavaFX package on which we develop our applications. Then the JavaFX collection, it provides classes that can handle collections and related utilities. Then the concurrent provide classes responsible for multitasking, embedded swing. Okay, so the swing is embedded here. That means that it provides a set of classes that can be used inside the swing code. Then the SWT also provides a set of classes that can be used in the SWT code. Then we have the Java events, provide classes that deal with events and how they are handled. Last week we talked about events. Then the fXML contains classes responsible for loading the hierarchy of markup. Then geometry for 2D geometry. Then scene. The JavaFX.scene provides classes to deal with the scene graph API. Okay, we'll look at that. Then the scene canvas, set of classes that deal with canvas. Then scene control contain classes for all the JavaFX components. So we talk about the components, we are talking about the buttons, the text fields, and so on. And then the scene effects. Okay, so it contains classes that help you apply graphic effects to the scene and graph nodes. Then image, set of classes for loading and displaying image, inputs for giving out inputs, layout for supporting a user interface. Then there's a media, which provides a set of class to integrate audio and video into your JavaFX. Then there's paint, which helps you to use some colors and gradients to fill shapes and backgrounds. Then there's the shape, which has 2D classes that perform operations on shapes. And there are a whole lot of them. There's a text, there's a transform, there's web, there's stage. Okay. Now there's the scene, there's .scene. Okay. There's .scene here. Under the .scene, you have the canvas control effects. Okay. Image. You have the layout, media, paint, and shape. Okay. Text, transform, and web. So all those functionalities are within the scene package. Okay. Then under the scene package, there's also, or after the scene package, there's also the .stage, okay, which is another layer when it comes to the JavaFX application. Then there's the JavaFX.util, JavaFX.util.converter. Okay, the util has to do with utility classes. Then the converter is a package that is for the standard string converters for JavaFX. Now let's look at the JavaFX application, the structure. The JavaFX application structure. Now, it's very important you know the structure and then how it works. That will help us in the development of the application. Now, with the JavaFX structure, it is divided into 3 main components. Okay, that's the hierarchy, 3 main. So you have the stage, you have the scene, and then you have the node. Okay. You have the stage, the scene, and then the node. The stage, the scene, and the node. Now, in order to use these 3 components, you need to import the JavaFX.application. Okay, now this is a class in every JavaFX application. So every JavaFX application, you need to introduce, okay, this particular class, okay, or it will be imported in every JavaFX application. Now, this provides the lifecycle method for JavaFX application. So you also have the void init, the abstract, the public abstract void starts, okay, where you create a primary stage, okay, for your scene. Then the stop, which also stops the stage. So the first one initializes the stage. Okay. You start the stage and then you stop the stage. Okay. So these are key syntaxes we'll be using, or functions or methods that we'll be using in our program. Now, in order to create a basic JavaFX application, we need to import the JavaFX.application into our code, and then inherit application into other classes, then override the start method of the application class. Now, let's look at the stage. The stage, one of the 3 components of the JavaFX application. So with the stage, the JavaFX application is similar to the frame in the swing component. Okay, so in the swing component, we have the frame, which is more like the working area. Okay. In JavaFX, we call that the stage. Okay, that is called a stage. So with a frame, you see a working area which needs to accept a name. Okay, a name, the application name, and also the 3 main buttons, the minimize, the maximize, and the close button. That's with the swing application. But with JavaFX, we call that the stage. Now it acts like a container for all JavaFX objects. There's a primary stage, which is created internally by the platform. And then there are other stages that can further be created by the application. Then the object of the primary stage is passed to start the method. Then we call a show method in the primary stage for the object in order to show our primary stage. So this is how the primary stage looks like. Okay. So like I said, you'd have just like the frame. So you have your application name, you have your minimize button, maximize button, and then your close button. Okay. So it says here that we can add various objects to this primary stage. Okay. We can actually create another stage on this primary stage. Okay. So you can create different stage, a stage maybe to handle something to do with some media text or media files. You can have another stage to handle another part of the program. And then within the stage, you can have scene. You can create a scene on the page. Okay, so that's how JavaFX works. It's looking at like layers, okay, the three main components, which are the layers of the application. Okay. So it said the objects can only be added in a hierarchical way. First, the scene graph will be added to the primary stage. Then a scene graph may contain nodes. A node may be an object of the user's interface, like the text, the button, the text area, the button, the shapes, the media, and so on. Okay, so you have first your stage, the primary stage. Then on the primary stage, you add a scene. Then the scene will contain nodes. Okay, now these nodes are your buttons and so on. Okay. Now the scene, how is the scene like? The scene actually holds the physical content, that's the nodes of the JavaFX application. So it uses the JavaFX scene. This class provides all the methods to deal with the scene objects. Creating a scene is necessary in order to visualize the components on the screen, or sorry, on the stage. Okay. So at one instance, the scene object can only be added to one stage. Okay, so at an instance, the scene objects can only be added to one stage. Okay. Now the scene graph. The scene graph is the starting point of constructing your JavaFX application. So it's like a hierarchical tree of nodes, okay, like I mentioned earlier. Now, this represents all the visual elements of your user interface. It also has the capability to handle events. And so it has the capability to handle events. In general, the scene graph can be defined as the collection. It can be defined as the collection of nodes. Each node has its separate ID, its style, and then its volume. Okay. Every node of the scene can only have single parents and a 0 or more children. Okay. So just looking at it from the perspective of a tree, okay, in data structures. So this is how it looks like. So you have the stage, which is like your frame. Okay. Now on the stage, we will have a scene. Okay. Now on that particular scene, you have the scene graph. So the scene graph will now contain your various nodes. Now your nodes, like I said, can be in this, can be shapes, can be your various controls. The buttons can be some multimedia text or the multimedia files and so on. Okay. So if you look at the node here, okay, this is a breakdown. A node can have shapes 3D, it can have 2D shapes. Okay, can have a parent. Now the parent coming down to the region to have some pane. Okay, and also the controls. Okay. So the panes are more like the layout. Okay. The pane is more like the layout. So just like in swing components, okay, last week we made mention of some of the layouts like the grid layout, grid bag layout, the border layout, and so on. In JavaFX, they are known as the pane. Okay, so then there's the JavaFX architecture. Now with the architecture, it has to do with the graphics engine. Okay, so the JavaFX has the JavaFX graphic engine provides graphical support to your scene graph. Okay, so this graphical support comes in the form of 2D and 3D application, and then provides software rendering when the graphic hardware accelerator, which is used to help in rendering. Okay, so when it comes to 3D or when it comes to graphic application, okay, you need to work more with or the file need to deal with what we call rendering. Okay. Rendering the application. So if you have used more of this high-end graphic application before, multimedia applications like Premiere Pro and so on, you see a lot of this word, rendering. Okay, when you are trying to convert your file to a format that can support on other devices. Okay. Now, the two main graphic accelerated hardware pipelines here, one is the Prism and the other is the Quantum toolkit. Okay, these are two hardwares that are used in JavaFX. Now the Prism implements different ways to render graphic on different platforms. Okay, that's what the Prism does, different ways to render graphics on different platforms. And then the Quantum toolkit is used to bind the Prism and then the Windows toolkits together. So it's bind it together in the form of a layer or layers of layers in stacks. Okay, so it's come one layer upon the other layer. So the windowing toolkit is present on the lowest level of the JavaFX stack and can be seen as the platform dependent layer which works on JavaFX as an interface, okay, and is with the native operating system. Now it is responsible for providing Windows services such as managing the windows, the timers, the event queues, and the surfaces. Okay. Now let's look at the web view architecture. The web view architecture. So we said that JavaFX, you can embed HTML content into JavaFX. You can embed CSS, you can embed JavaScript, you can embed almost all these hypertext markup or this markup language, FXML, can all be embedded into JavaFX. Okay. Now for this purpose, JavaFX uses a component called the web view. The web view uses the WebKit, which is an internal open source browser and can render HTML5, the DOM, CSS, SVG, and also JavaScript. Okay. So then there's the media engine. Media engine can support playback of audio and video files. It uses, or it depends on the GStreamer, okay, the GStreamer multimedia API. Then the package for that is this JavaFX scene.media. Okay. So this is basically how the architecture looks like. You have your virtual machine. Now the virtual machine has the JDK and tools running upon it. Then the next phase is the various architectures that we mentioned. So there's the Prism, there's a Glass, there's Vue, Web View, there's Media, Win32, GTK, OpenGL, WebKit, GStreamer, okay, all working within the architecture. Okay. Then there's the Quantum Toolkit, which is upon it. Then you have the JavaFX and your scene graph running upon it. So how do we start? By creating JavaFX application. What do we have to do? So just like we do with the designing the string components, okay, with IntelliJ, we need to open or create a project. Now this time we don't select Java, okay, like we've been doing with the previous project. Rather, we go in for JavaFX. Okay, you go in for JavaFX. That option is available on IntelliJ. I'm sure there are some versions that do not have JavaFX. Okay, so I think mine is the ultimate version. Okay. All right, so you select JavaFX. Then you provide the name of the application, specify the location for the application. And then once the application is created, you right-click on the source file, go to new, and then all the way down, you select your JavaFX. Okay. Now you can see here that there is a FXML file here. Okay, so that can be used to create your FXML code that you want to embed. There's HTML file here, HTML code if you want to embed. There's a style sheet, that's for the CSS code, okay, CSS styling. There's the JavaScript also file here. That's if you want to write some JavaScript code and embed it, okay, and so on. All right. So you create a new class, you give it a name, and then, like we said, the base, okay, the base package is the Java application.application. Then you have the stage. Then from the stage, you have your primary stage. Then that's more like you now have your, how do we call it? You now have your frame. Then you can now go ahead to develop your application. Okay. Now the JavaFX library, let's look at some of the controls when it comes to JavaFX. So JavaFX provide a class library for text. Okay, this provides various methods to alter various properties of text. You just need to instantiate the class to implement your application. So some of the properties when it comes to text, there's the bond type, the font, there's the smoothing type, the line spacing, the strike through, text alignment, origin, wrapping the width, the coordinates, the X and Y coordinates to set them on the scene. Then there's also the panes. So the panes, that's more like the layouts. Okay. Then there's the UI controls and then the shapes. Okay. Now, all these are subsets of the node. Okay, like I said, they are subset of the node. The button is always centered in the scene. Okay. And it occupies the entire window, no matter how you resize it. You can fix this problem by setting the position and the size properties of the button. So it's better to approach it using the container classes, that's the panes, okay, for automatically laying out the node in the desired location. Okay, so anytime you design or come up with your interface and you add a button, if you don't specify the size, okay, or sorry, if you don't specify the node, yes, the pane in terms of the layout you are using, what happens is that the button will automatically take the entire stage, okay, or the entire scene where you place it. So you place the nodes in the pane and then place the pane inside your scene. Then a node, like we said, contains the UI, the shape, and the pane. The shape refers to text, lines, circles, ellipse, rectangles, polygons, and so on. Okay, the UIs refer to the labels, the button, the checkbox, the radio button, text field, text area, and so on. So a scene can be displayed in a stage. Okay. So the pane contains the sub type, that's the node. Okay, we've talked about this earlier. So basically, that is how the relationship among this interface. Okay, you have the stage, your scene, then the parent, which is the pane, and the controls can be here. Then you can drop your nodes in there. All right, so let's look at some of the panes available. Okay, still on the relationship. The shapes, we said the line, ellipse, rectangle, and so on. Then the image view is for displaying image. Okay, all within the shape, all within the node. Then we have the controls and the pane, all within the parent, which falls under the node. Okay, so the pane, what are some of the pane? There's the flow pane, which is like the flow layout. There's a grid pane, like the grid layout. There's a border pane, like the border layout. There's H box, and there's V box, and there's also the stack pane. Okay. Now, the layouts are the top level container classes that define the UI style of the scene graph objects. The layout can be seen as the parent node to other nodes, and then it provides various layout panes that support different style of layers. So the layout defines the way in which the components are to be seen on your stage. So these are the various panes that are available in JavaFX. They are the layouts, sort of, okay, but in JavaFX, the word or the keyword used there is the layout pane. That's the class. So these are some of them: the border layout, what it does, the pane layout, the grid layout, the H pane, and so on. Okay. Now, the GUI always needs some UI elements to help its layout and its behavior. Okay. So the behavior has to do with the reaction of the UI element when some event is occurred on it. Okay. So, for instance, if it's a button and you click the button, okay, some event has to take place. So these are some examples of controls in JavaFX. Okay, progress bar, space bar, and so on. Okay. So let's move into our IntelliJ interface and then write some code to see how JavaFX actually works. Okay. So we start by creating a new project. Now, like I said, the project has to be a JavaFX project. So you select the JavaFX. The SDK is just the same SDK that we use when we are working with Java. Okay, so you don't need to actually specify the SDK. So we'll give it a project name. And before that, let me just specify my location. So on desktop. So a project name, you can say JavaFX app 1. JavaFX app 1. So I create my project. Now you can see here that after creating the project, it's giving me or it's showing me three different windows have been opened. Okay, one is the main Java. Okay, the main.java. So this is a program that is auto-generated when you create a new class. Okay. Then there's the controller method, and then there's the fxml part of the code, okay, which we can also use to develop usually the interface of the application. Okay. Let's just look at this JavaFX code before we write our own program. So by default, this imports the application class package. Then there's the JavaFX fxml.fxml loader. Okay, now this fxml loader is going to load this particular interface. That's the sample.fxml. Okay, it's going to load this particular interface. Then the scene parent, so the scene parent is here. Then the scene.scene, and then the scene.stage. Okay. Now, anytime you introduce a JavaFX, it always has to extend from an application. That's this application. Okay, if it extends, that means it always imports from this application. Then automatically generates the stage or the primary stage. Okay, then throws an exception. That's if there's an exception to be handled. Okay. Then we have the fxml loader, okay, which will load, okay, or get resources from the sample.fxml, which is this tab over here. Okay, so changing the gap, the alignment, and so on, everything is done from the fxml stage. And in this stage, it's using the grid pane. Okay, that's the default. Now it's setting a title to the application. That's application, more like the name of your scene. Okay, hello world. Then it sets the scene in terms of the width and the height. Then after that, you show your stage. Okay, you show your stage. Okay. Then we have main class here, which launches, okay, this. So if I decide to run this, this is the interface I'm going to get. Okay. So this, like I said, is the frame. Okay, is the frame, or what we call the scene, or the stage of your application. Let me put it that way, the stage of your application. Okay. Now it's waiting for you to populate it with some buttons, with some pane, with some graphical scene, with some web pages, and so on. Okay. So for the next few weeks, we'll be writing applications using JavaFX. So we'll do more of desktop-based application, and then we'll look at one project on the web application, okay, or the web browser part application. Okay. Please, any questions so far before we develop one application and then we close for today? Any question?
No, sir.
Sir, please, I have a question.
All right, yes. You can go ahead.
So you made mention of rich internet application. So
Yes.
I've come across the usage of it before. So can you please specify the sector that usually use it?
The sector asking, I didn't get the question.
Maybe whether it's being used by schools, it's being used by retail, because mostly I just know of desktop and web app, but for the rich internet application, so which people uses the application the most?
rich internet application is not it's not like it's not focused on which people use the application. Okay, that's not the focus of rich internet application. Rich internet applications are basically applications that have certain characteristics, okay, of graphical desktop application, but they can also run on the web, in the sense that you can have, or they can run on, they can run on the web. Okay, so with JavaFX, if we say it's rich or makes use of rich internet application, it means that the applications that you can have that can also run on the web, they are not just only desktop applications. Okay, they are not just desktop applications. They can run on the internet. They are you can write some HTML codes, okay, and embed it into it, and it will still work. Unlike with the GUI, they are just desktop applications. So you just make use of the APIs or the features that are available for the Swing components to develop such applications. Okay. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, please. My question has been answered.
Yeah. Abdul Basit, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, there was a similar name in the last year's class. Abdul Basit. I hope you are not the same person. This is a different.
No, I'm not the same person.
Okay. Because the level 400s also have one guy called Abdul Basit. Yes, any other question? Any other question before we?
Sir, please, I have a question.
Yeah, you are following, you are listening.
Sir, please, do you have the software such that when we can get it and install on our machines?